The D-Day landings, also known as the Normandy landings, took place on June 6, 1944. They marked the start of the Allies' largest amphibious invasion of Europe during World War II. Over 156,000 American, British and Canadian soldiers, supported by 5,000 ships and 11,000 aircraft, landed on the beaches of Normandy in France. The objective was to establish a foothold in France and push the German army back towards Germany. The D-Day landings were a critical moment in the outcome of the war. The success of the invasion marked a significant turning point in the war and paved the way for the eventual defeat of Germany. The D-Day landings allowed the Allies to establish a secure beachhead in France and launch a major campaign to drive the Germans out of Western Europe. The D-Day landings were pivotal in the outcome of the war, marking the start of the Allies' successful push into France and the eventual defeat of Germany. Through a comprehensive overview of the planning, preparation and execution of the D-Day landings, this video will examine the importance of this critical moment in the history of World War II. Normandy is a region located in northern France on the English Channel. The beaches of Normandy, including Omaha, Utah, Juno and Sword, were the site of the D-Day landings. These beaches offered a relatively flat and open terrain that was suitable for landing troops and equipment, and the proximity to major transportation hubs and cities made it an ideal location for the Allies to launch a major campaign to drive the Germans. In the years leading up to D-Day, the war in Europe was at a stalemate. The Germans had conquered much of Western Europe, including France, and were making progress in the east, but the Allies were slowly gaining ground in Africa and the Mediterranean. The Allies realised that a successful invasion of Europe was necessary to end the war, but the challenge was finding a suitable landing site that offered a combination of good terrain and proximity to transportation hubs. The Allies' plan to invade France was called Operation Overlord. The plan involved a massive build-up of troops, equipment and supplies in Britain, and the coordination of a massive air and sea assault on the beaches of Normandy. The objective of Overlord was to secure a foothold in France, establish a beachhead and push inland to capture key transportation and cities. The Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force was formed in 1942 to plan and execute the Allies' operations in Western Europe. It was commanded by the infamous General Dwight D. Eisenhower and was made up of representatives from the United States, Britain and Canada. This was responsible for planning and coordinating all aspects of the D-Day landings, including the selection of the landing site, the allocation of resources and the development of the overall strategy. To ensure the success of the D-Day landings, the Allies developed a major, complex deception plan known as Operation Fortitude to mislead the Germans about the true location and timing of the invasion. This involved the creation of a false army complete with inflatable tanks and fake radio transmissions to make the Germans believe that the invasion would in fact take place in Calais instead of Normandy. Operation Fortitude was a critical component of the D-Day landings as it allowed the Allies to achieve surprise and secure a foothold on the beaches of Normandy. The selection of Normandy as a landing site was the result of careful planning and consideration of a number of factors. The beaches offered a relatively flat and open terrain that was suitable for landing troops and equipment. The proximity to major transportation hubs and cities made it an ideal location for the Allies to launch a major campaign to drive the Germans. Additionally, the location of the beaches near the town of Caen, which was an important transportation and communication centre, made it a strategic target. Ultimately, the combination of these factors made Normandy the preferred landing site for the Allies. The preparation for the D-Day landings involved the gathering of a massive number of troops and resources. Over 156,000 American, British and Canadian soldiers were assembled in Britain, along with a vast array of equipment and supplies, including tanks, artillery and landing craft. This massive build-up of troops and resources was necessary to ensure that the Allies had the necessary manpower and firepower to successfully launch the invasion of France. The preparation also involved extensive training exercises and rehearsals. The Allies conducted several mock invasions on the beaches of Britain to test their landing craft, troops and equipment, and to refine their tactics and strategies for the invasion of France. These training exercises and rehearsals were critical to the success, as they allowed the Allies to work out any kinks in their plan and to build the confidence of the troops. The D-Day landings then began on June 6, 1944. The initial advances by Allied forces during D-Day were characterised by fierce resistance from the German defenders. The Allies encountered heavy fire from the German machine gun nests, artillery and tanks as they pushed inland from the beaches. Despite this, the Allies were able to establish a foothold on the beaches and push inland, securing several key objectives and capturing several key towns and villages in the process. Although this was at a large cost, German resistance during D-Day was fierce, with the Germans putting up a stiff defence against the Allied assault. The Germans had heavily fortified the beaches of Normandy, including the installation of barbed wire mines, concrete fortifications, which made the initial advances by the Allied forces difficult and costly. Despite this, the Allies overcame the German resistance. After the successful landing on the beaches of Normandy, the Allies worked to expand their foothold and to secure the area. This involved consolidating their position, pushing inland, and capturing more towns and villages. Over the next several weeks and months, the Allies continued to push forward, expanding and securing more and more territory in France, on the road to Paris. The D-Day landings marked the beginning of the Allies' advance into Germany as they pushed eastward, eventually crossing the River Rhine and entering Germany. The Allies faced more stiff resistance from the German forces, but they continued to push forward, capturing more towns and cities and defeating the German army in a series of battles and engagements. One of the key achievements of the D-Day landings was the liberation of Paris and other French cities from the Nazi occupation. The liberation of Paris in particular was a turning point in the war and a major morale boost for the Allies. The liberation of Paris and other cities marked the beginning of the end for the Nazi occupation of France and the eventual defeat of the Axis powers in Europe. The D-Day landings were a critical turning point in the outcome of the Second World War. The landings allowed the Allies to establish a foothold once again in Europe and begin their advance into Germany, eventually culminating in the Battle of Berlin and the defeat of the German army and the liberation of Western Europe against the foothold of Nazi power. The success of the D-Day landings was a major factor in this victory. The D-Day landings remain a significant event in world history, remembered as a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who fought and died during. The legacy of the landings continues to be felt today, serving as a reminder of the sacrifices made by the soldiers in the pursuit of freedom and democracy. Thank you very much guys for watching this video on the D-Day landings. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and comment what you thought. We also have many other videos just like this one up on the channel that you can check out now. Thank you guys.